So this video is going to be on the composition of the bones. I think it's useful to actually start off with the inorganic components of the bones because oftentimes there's a misunderstanding that bones are primarily made out of calcium. And it is true that calcium takes up a good 65% of the bone matrix. However, you should know that this is only one component of it. This is a really cool scanning electron micrograph showing calcium salts inside of the bone matrix. So this is a really nice view of the salts kind of lined up together. So this is clearly calcium, and I want you to recognize that this is just one component that is kind of wedged in between these other components, which are called osteoid. So calcium makes up 65% of the bone matrix. The body itself contains 1,200 to 1,400 grams of calcium. 99% of that calcium is found in the bones. That means that less than 1.5 grams of calcium is found in the blood. Now, I will say this, very important to note, and I'll tell you that students misunderstand this all the time, that the calcium levels are monitored very closely in the blood. They are really not monitored at all in the bone. So the calcium levels in the blood must remain between 9 to 11 milligrams per 100 milliliters. You'll notice that this is a picture of homeostatic imbalance or homeostatic levels. So you see a balanced level is 9 to 11 milligrams per 100 milliliters. We don't actually worry very much about calcium becoming imbalanced in a positive direction. That normally does not happen. And if it does occur, then it becomes regulated immediately. However, we do worry quite a bit about the blood levels of calcium falling too low. And what will happen if calcium blood levels fall too low is that there is a hormone called parathyroid hormone, PTH. It's released from the parathyroid glands. Para meaning next to, thyroid meaning the thyroid glands. The thyroid glands, basically it's on the back side of the thyroid gland. There are these tiny little structures here which release a very special hormone called PTH. When your calcium levels get too low, the parathyroid glands release PTH. PTH levels in the blood rise as a result. And there's a number of ways that PTH does its work, but the one that's of interest to us at the moment is that they enhance the activity of the osteoclasts. Osteoclasts. Remember that the osteoclasts are called the bone breakers or the bone destroyers. These, in turn, from the PTH signal, will cause the bone matrix to be broken apart and will release calcium into the blood, therefore restoring calcium homeostasis in the blood. You'll notice that this happens at the injury of the bones, really. So when you're not taking enough calcium in your diet, your body's going to figure out a way to get its calcium. And we'll talk about the importance of calcium down the line. This story is actually going to come up several more times during the course of this class. So it's one to, this is just the introduction. You're going to see this one again a few times. So learn it well. All right, so that's the calcium story. So the inorganic portion of bones is, in fact, calcium salts, and it does take about 65% of your bone matrix. But there are also organic components as well. So first of all, there are the cells of the bone. The first that we're going to look at here, which I don't actually cover very much in this class, but it's worth noting, that there is a stem cell which creates the cells that we're looking at here. It's called the osteogenic cell. Now take a look at these guys here. This is the osteoblast. We call this the bone creator. This is the cell that's responsible for bone growth. It also, you'll notice that root blast there. Blast means progenitor or naive cell or young cell. And it turns out that an osteoblast will eventually become the fully mature osteocyte. This is a mature bone cell that monitors and maintains the mineralized bone matrix. So what happens is the osteoblast will secrete a substance called osteoid. Osteoid is made of collagen and ground substance. As it secretes this substance, it actually buries itself inside of there, and then it becomes an osteocyte. Remember what the osteocytes do? They rest inside of these tiny little cavities called lacunae, and then they send out their tendrils and continue to maintain the neighboring bone matrix. Well, that's just an osteoblast that has matured into an osteocyte. All right, so let's see. Our last bone cell is called the osteoclast. We call this the bone breaker. It is the bone resorbing cell. It does its work by releasing structures that include acids and enzymes that break apart bone, and oftentimes it's just kind of eating away at the bone matrix. As it eats away at the bone matrix, it will release calcium, osteoid, and any kind of cells that are in the way. So as it eats away the bone, it may actually encounter a lacuna, and then the osteocyte will likely die and be reabsorbed into the bloodstream.